Japan, as you know, is one of the leading economies. Of course, it has been overtaken by others. So we thought that our relations should be structured, so to speak. TICAD, therefore, allows us to structure that kind of relationship broadly as a collective. In other words, we shouldn't have a situation where the individual countries, others may not know what is happening, that since Japan, like many, are interested in terms of investing in Africa, etc., that should be, in a sense, structured in a way that all countries are able to benefit. We are able to raise the issues collectively, particularly when it comes to bigger kind of projects, particularly because Africa in itself is very much focused on how to link Africa so that we increase the level of intertrade. Now, a country like Japan that is involved in huge kind of projects is not afraid to invest in those kind of projects. It therefore becomes important that the discussions we have, we are all on the same page, so that its being here benefits almost all of us. Of course, there are things that we still need to push very hard with regard to the Japanese companies. And that point was made very clearly by one of our business people from Zambia, that there should be an important percentage that is almost built in the investment in terms of joint ventures, so that the interactions benefits both what Japan brings, but we should also benefit by developing our own companies, learning from what the Japanese are doing. So that's the kind of a process we can see moving forward and benefiting on both sides. So in our point of view, we would even feel, and I think the point was made by President Museveni, that also we should export quite a good percentage to the Japanese market as well. So these are matters we think coming together we can have more strength in persuading the Japanese companies really to work with us in many ways. So to us, Japan is a country that could invest billions of dollars, as it has, for an example, indicated that there will be a number of substantial investments they would want to make and bring the finances. So that is what we think will benefit all of us. We will have to sit on our own to say, how do we then utilize, how do we share all of that? I think that's a matter that Africa should look at. Our relations with Japan with regard to economic interactions is quite sizable. As you say, we've got a lot of companies that are investing in South Africa. We are happy with that, and I think they have brought in quite a number of economic activities that, in a sense, address some of our focus, some of our targets as well. So we are very happy. We had a bilateral yesterday. We discussed a number of issues, which were, of course, bilateral, so to speak. But we were all happy that we are doing something more could be done in terms of the relations that we have, given the challenges that particularly we have in terms of as part of Africa, but nevertheless not failing to emphasize the importance of Japan to be also in other countries in the continent. Yes, we are the biggest recipient, so to speak, of the investment from Japan. But that does not mean we should then hold that and say they shouldn't go anywhere. We would want Japan to use its muscle, its financial muscle, to ensure that Africa, as our approach today as the leadership of Africa, is that we need to develop together as the African countries. We are not saying there should be one country that develops more than the other. Everything we do, we, for an example, spoke about the possibilities that are there in terms of the infrastructure that Africa is one on, that we would want Japan to participate, their companies to participate, so that we could therefore have the capacity to ensure that these infrastructure throughout, bridges or whatever, they're all moving. There's not others that are not moving because the possibility of financing are not there. So those are the kind of things we're talking about. We have appealed to all investors to come in, and Japan is one of them. And today the issue was focused on Japan, and Japan is ready to participate, and I think the Prime Minister said so. And also the President Uhuru Kenyatta raised the matter in some details, describing the corridor itself and how many countries it touches, etc., etc. In a sense, saying to the Japanese, here are possibilities for you to come in and participate. To us, because it's not a small matter, it's a huge kind of project, taking it together. We would want whoever can invest to come and invest. This time around, we're focusing to Japan to make Japan appreciate this possibility and opportunity that they could come in and invest. That was the main thing. Of course, we've got other institutions that are participating, and we are happy with it, but it needs more because it's a huge thing. You know, if we're not colonized, we would have done these things many years ago. But today, because we are late, we are saying whoever can participate, because in the main, we want to link Africa in terms of infrastructure, rail and road, and communication, and dealing with the issue of the borders. And there's specific borders that are huge kind of projects that we are dealing with. So all of these put together then create a very clear corridor, so to speak, economic corridor. It's not the only one. There are corridors that are moving also across Africa and across even the north of Africa, because we want the network that is going to enable the goods and people of the continent to move quicker and faster. We met Equatorial Guinea, discussed a number of bilateral issues. We met the president of Chad, who is currently the chair of AU. We met Sudan. We met South Sudan. These are among the countries that we met, discussing a number of issues. We also had another consultation between the chair of the AU, President Deby. We also met in that meeting President Museveni, which we also had a bilateral, but we also met with both the chair of the AU and chair of the Commission, and Museveni and myself, to discuss very important issues relating to, for an example, the situation in Libya, and our views about the role played by the United Nations in the continent. And we'll be meeting again in UNGA, the General Assembly, to take further some of these issues. And there were other issues that we discussed. So we were able to have time to talk about that. We had the bilateral as well with the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and discuss a number of issues that we thought are important between the two countries. So we used the possibility that we had to address some of the issues that we'll be talking about. Of course, we also reminded one another that there will be a state visit from South Africa in a matter of perhaps just over a month. It should be taking place, and we'll take further some of the issues.